Okay, we're moving on to the carburetor. This is one of the carburetors my dad rebuilt 20 years ago probably. Boxes of these things like this. So he always puts down a list of everything he put in there new, whatever he changed on them. So you always know what's been done to them. That's what they look like now. So M74B, so it says right over here what it is, panhead carb. So this is for a stock application. It's got the spring-loaded choke valve in it. It's got the correct needles on it. It's got the tall lever for the stock throttle, which is what we got on this bike. So these have all been remachined, new bushings, new everything's in these things. So these are all painted silver to make them look pretty. So anyway, that's what it looks like. I always put the big Venturis in them. This one here I think has a stock float in it, which is preferred over the brass floats he used. I guess some other ones have brass floats in them. I prefer the stock floats. So, and he's always vacuum tested the needle and seats, make sure they don't leak and all that kind of stuff. So, and we've remodified the jetting internally to make them carburet a little bit better through the mid-range. All right, so this one's ready to go on the bike. So we got some air cleaner screws here, which we're not going to use because he has the stock hex ones. So I'll take these off. And I'm not sure if these are long enough to work with the insulator gasket that I got over there. So this here comes off like that. Put them back in the bag. Lose them. Okay, this is the stock style support bracket. Now this one is for a knucklehead, not a panhead. A panhead one has a twist in it. So I'm not sure if this is going to work or not on here, but this goes underneath the mount, the center bolt here. So I have to pull the nut off, which is what I was working on. So these go on there just like that. And the carburetor goes on it. This support bracket goes right underneath this nut here. Here, undo that nut. Take that off. And that goes right under there like that. So I'm going to take off the black Parkerized nut, which is a brand new military nut. We'll get our zinc plated nut to put on there. Looks better for this bike. Okay. More silver parts to go together. Alright, so that goes on there like that. Let me see how that fits on there. I take the manifold bolts off. Now you want the bolt to go basically at least that far in there, so you got full thread. And by the time you put the manifold, the insulator block with two gaskets, I'm thinking these bolts are going to be a little short. See, it doesn't leave a lot of room for a manifold. So I got some longer bolts here. This is before if you only use a gasket, no insulator. The insulator's there to help keep the heat down on the carburetor. That's debatable if it helps any, because brass absorbs heat real good, and you're right between two hot cylinders and two hot heads. So I don't think the insulator makes much difference, but it made Harley feel better. They said it worked better, but I don't even believe everything they did. Now, these have been all helicoiled, so all these holes are helicoiled up. So, and even all the carburetor, the air cleaner ones are all helicoiled too, so it shouldn't strip. Okay, that goes in there like this. First problem is it doesn't clear the lifter block in there. That's our first problem. Other than that, it looks pretty close. Another problem is the top motor mount bolt is completely in the way of the throttle mechanism. So that's going to have to be taken off and reversed and go the other direction. So that's probably why they had that real flat nut up there. So that's definitely going to have to be worked on. Next thing is I'm going to have to shave off the corner of this right here to clear the lifter block. So we have to do that too. So we already have a bunch of little stuff we got to do. What fun. So let's try knocking that bolt out and see if I can make that work without cutting the bracket. I know Harley cut the brackets a lot on those bikes, so it's probably necessary. Maybe we can get by. Oh, look at that. No, we don't need to do that. Perfect. See, I need two hands. Nope, nope, it stayed in there. We're still good. No, we're not. Yep, it does fit in there. You have to hold your teeth just right, or your tongue just right. Okay. Now let's see if that'll fit in there correctly. Okay, I gotta get this swapped around. Just got done putting all those tools away too. Okay, I'm going to pull it out. See, I got this flat bolt in here. That's probably to clear the throttle mechanism. It's a good thing we use that. Put some more leather Loctite on the threads. Okay, tighten up on the other side now. Appears to be tight. Okay. Tight again. With longer mounting bolts here. A bag full of them. These should be 1 inch. Nope, these are 7/8. So, a 1/4 inch more, so that should be enough to do what we need to do. Alright, get the quick mock-up going. Here's the fun part. I'm going to snake all these parts in here from the wrong side. You don't have good access from the other side. You don't have much access from this side either, but it's better than the other side. You gotta be able to work off your fingertips, that's for sure. Okay, they're all in there. So there's your gasket sandwich there. I'm thinking these bolts are a little on the short side, but we'll see. Yeah, they should be all right. You got one thread hanging out. How many threads do you need, right? Yep. Appears we need to go up some 1-inch bolts. These are too short. Good thing I got a box of 1-inch bolts. They're longer, see? I get to pull all this back out. Again. Swap them out. So it's fun to get to do things twice. The longer they are, the harder they are to get in here. You can't just drop them on your finger like you did before. Your fingers have to be longer. And my fingers aren't growing anymore, so. You have to let gravity help you. Get good at that. With my finger in there. You're pretty good at working blind. That's so much fun, I'm going to goop them up right now. We'll worry about the mock-up later. You don't really need to do it around the center of the hole. If it leaks past the center of the hole, it's going to leak anyway, so that's all you really need to do it. Lay that there. This is their insulator block. See, that's what that motor's for, is for holding the gaskets after you goop them. I don't goop the carburetor, that way I can pull the gasket off maybe, but I do goop the gasket. More likely we'll be pulling this on and off a couple times. Okay, now I get to pull all these gaskets in here. Hopefully they all fit. One down. Insulator block. We're in. One more gasket. Bolt link looks good. Okay, we got the carburetor. Alright, now I get to figure out how we're going to tighten these bolts down. That's going to be fun. Getting them started is the hardest part. So I get to use my fingers from way on the back side there. Got that one started. It doesn't want to go. Can't tell if it started or hung up on the helical coil. It's something. That one's in. Alright, the other one's going to do from the other side. The two bottom ones you get on the other side. Okay, you take your socket and you cheat, put a nut in there, and see now you don't have very much of a socket hanging out. So now you can push and install the bolt at the same time. And hopefully it'll start. Doing a lot of turning, but not much engaging. There we go. Do the other one. Got it started. Ooh, I can get the socket in there. Yep, I can get that in there too. Alright. Pull it in, tighten it down. There we go, that worked. You have to use a short like this one because it drops down into the intake manifold and clears short socket. Okay, we drop down over here and see what we got to work with over here. Okay, looks like our bracket down here has got a gap between it and the back. So that means we need to try and get a washer in there, I think. It did come off. Can I get it off all the way? Oh, look at that. I was able to get it out of there. Now these wires, I want to put them behind the bracket also. So I have to fish them up like that. Okay, I'm going to put this little AN washer in here. Fish this all back up in here somehow. Like this. Shove it in there. Make sure the wires are still moving. There we go. That's going to be interesting. Okay, I got to put some Loctite on that nut. We've got a couple threads there, and we're working with probably on the nut. So definitely got to put Loctite on that to hold it. On start, there it goes. All right, get this one over here. There we go. Okay, I can see if we can tighten this nut up here. Make sure this is not getting pinched in there. Screwdriver for that. You can be tight against it, but you can't be squeezing it. If it's up high enough, it shouldn't matter. Problem is the top wire is keeping it from being over the peak. These are racing cars out there. Suppose they're doing some street racing out there someplace. I think the cops don't know about it now. The police station's that way, and the other one's behind me. Okay, so we'll make sure the wires are not being pinched too bad. Yeah, they can be tight, they just can't be being cut in half. Definitely are tight. Okay. Alright, tighten that from the other side. There, if you can move the wire, it's not being pinched. Yep, we're good. Okay, do this. That's tight. Okay, mock-up looks good. Mock-up's permanent. Ooh, there's a problem though. Shit. See, the throttle shaft got tight when we tightened the carburetor down. It bent the body. Yeah. We'll work on that still a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna go tighten those bolts all the way down on the other side. It's tight. You're tight. It's tight. And now it's tight. Alright. Oh, I'm going to tighten this nut up too. Case bolt's tight. Alright, everything's tight right now, including the throttle shaft. That's the problem. That ain't supposed to be tight. Well, that really got tight. Yeah, that's way tighter than it needs to be. Yeah, full throttle, no problem. Yep, we can see it. See, that's a little snug. That's a little bit too tight. So the carburetor body flexed enough that it caused the throttle shaft to lock up. So that means it's not working very well, and it won't work very well. It'll probably wear itself in, but it might take a while. So I'm going to try a little bit of playing here and see if we can free this up a little bit. So we take aluminum rod here, punch, and you kind of beat on things a little bit. So see what happens. First thing I'd like to hit on is the throttle shift. See what happens just by doing this. See if it helps. If it helps, good. If it makes it worse, bad. So we try hitting it that way. That didn't really do much. Let's try hitting it this way here. Not really. So you don't know where the warpage is at, so just play around a little bit and see if anything helps it. Sometimes it does, you never know. Doesn't seem to be doing much this time though. Something's a little dirty. Get dirty touching it. Alright, so that's not, it's not being very happy. That might have helped a little bit. Maybe. Still stiff though. I don't think it did much. Hit on the throttle shaft on the inside. I don't think that helped it very much. Try it again. Yeah, it doesn't like that. That ain't helping it doing that. I think I made it worse. Yeah, well. Yeah, pretty much isn't helping. We tried though, right? The alternative is I have to take it apart, work on it. That's a lot more work. That's another hour of playing. We're trying not to do any hours of playing. Trying to get the bike done. Alright. Let's see how this is going to work. First problem is the wire is bent. Straighten the wire out. Okay, so we can go up here and what happened to the button? Somebody moved it. You got a little bit of a kink right here in the tire. The wire, a little bend. So this is piano wire, so it shouldn't just splatten out when you do that. No, it didn't. So you hold it and then you bend up on it a little bit. Do that again. Just use your thumb right here and play with it, you know, over here. And get it pretty straight. Get it from the other view. A little bit of an S-bend in it. Sometimes you just do it by on your finger, but the cable is moving, so it's harder to do it that way. Alright. See all the twists and bends in this thing. Trying to get these out. Not make them worse. Debatable. There's definitely a curve in it. You get one out and get another one in there to play with. I feel a little better. To get the big one up here. Okay. So this goes in here. Adjust the screw a little bit. There's room for it to go in there. Come on. There it goes. Kind of. There it goes. Okay. So we're at full throttle right now. You want to make sure it's got pressure at full throttle. And you want to make sure you got pressure at idle. I can probably pull this back a little bit. And it's idle. Full throttle. It's very important to get full throttle. Okay. So, being an internal throttle up here, way over there, right here, you can have a tight carburetor and not worry about it because it turns. It's kind of like having cruise control. Wherever you put it, it stays. So you can put it wherever you want. And having a little bit of a bulky throttle over there doesn't really hurt you because you're manually shoving it open and closed. So you can see how you're going open and close. You have to force it back. It's not like it goes back on its own. It's not like a new bike. So you can see how the lever makes sure that it goes against the idle stop. And then over here, you want to see a little bit of flex that way. Now I'm not seeing any real flex that wide open, but I'm seeing a lot right here. So that's more than I want to see because that's trying to bend the throttle shaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and loosen it up a little bit. Still getting it there. And we're still getting, now we're getting a little flex on the other end. See, we got about equal flex now. There, so we got about equal flex on both spots. Okay, so that's good. Of course, you want to make sure the carburetor is wide open throttle. It's very important that you have wide open throttle on your carburetor. So, right in there, it's a idle, and there we're wide open. Boom, boom. And if you look in there, you can see the porting we did. Oh, it's all nice and shiny in there. It's all ported out. So, go up a little bit higher, you can see better. See, you can see right in there. See all the porting down in there we did. So, boom, boom. And so this is your choke right here. So it goes like that. And this lets air in it, but you're not supposed to be full like that. Alright, so we got the throttle working. Even though it's tight, it works. It'll wear itself in over time, so at least I don't have to screw with it. If it was a new bike, I'd have to work on that for a couple hours, but being here I don't have to. Now we do have to get the choke to work though. Right now there's no choke, except you have to reach in there and do it. So they have a rod that they use. This is the rod. So this hooks into the pieces. This goes over in the back over there, and this one here hooks into right here. And the problem is it's hard to hook all this up like this point because it should have been hooked up earlier. So more than likely what I'm going to wind up doing, I'm going to wind up taking that damn thing I've had so much fun over there with. I'll probably have to do something about it. Take that apart. See, this rolls in here like this. So that's supposed to go. This is supposed to just bend in there, which I can't make it do. Just kind of lays in there like that at an angle. Pulls back and forth. So I'm going to have to take that damn thing apart, and I didn't want to screw with it. Now I haven't fully tightened down my intake clamps yet either. I need to do that. So I should do that right now before I get any further along with this one. Okay. So we got our socket, our big long extension to reach in there. And we still have some access to it. Good. Just out of my way. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to loosen these up a little bit. Try to rotate them up a little bit higher. That one went up a little bit. And that one did not move up a little bit. There, it moved up a little bit. Okay, now we'll go ahead and tighten them down. Now that let the manifold kind of settle where it wants to be. A little tension over there. A little bit higher. Some tension on that one. Tension on that one. Tension there. That's getting pretty tight. And that's getting pretty tight. Now when those rotated up, I didn't have to be pushing my needles over here trying to break them off. Alright. So now we work on that choke over there a little bit. First thing I'm going to take the damn thing apart. Don't particularly want to do, but I spent so much time dicking with it already. Okay, that one's out. And of course our rod fell out over here. Gotta keep that engaged. Not sure what I'm gonna do about that, but okay, got that engaged on this side here. So you can see how that just lays in there like that. It's not really being held too much. You got a little bit of a curl around, but not much. Okay, now we go on the other side over here. And we gotta do this side. I gotta take this apart. Of course, everything just fell out. It's gonna be fun to do. It's almost easier to take the whole motor mount out, but you know, as I said, almost. Okay, that's out of the way. I have to hook this into the mechanism and put this all back in. That's the fun part. So this just goes through the hole and does the same little twisty deal. Like that. And that's all the holes it. Pretty simple. Put our clamp up there for the spark plug. And this all the way through. Of course, this is not lining up very well. Okay, that's in there. Now I got to tighten up from the other side. Somehow. I can see it. Good luck on getting to it. There you go. I can get 2 fingers in there. I can get 2 fingers and I can do anything. So you put it on the tips of your finger, get on the back side, center it up, and then rotate it onto the nut, on the bolt. See, nothing to it. I gotta keep this from rotating somehow. Tighten it. We already know it's going to rotate. Yep, just rotated. We knew that was going to happen. Tight as I can make it. I was doing great until that dropped down. Damn it. Forget about all the little things you gotta do. Ah, you bastard. There it goes. Damn thing up there where it belongs. Three hands to do this, and we got 2. You can't keep things from moving. That's about the best I can do. Definitely under tension, so it doesn't have to worry about falling off. That's for damn sure. Okay, this goes up under here. Ah. And it bends down. Make sure it doesn't get pinched in there. Okay, see how that works? Right now, I think the choke is on. Nope, choke is open. Choke is off. So that goes on there like that. So you push the lever down, close the choke. See how the rod's jammed in there? You got clicks. 1. It's hard to feel the clicks. The clicks are over here. See the individual clicks right down in here. Camera's not letting me move it too much. So you got 1 position, 2, 3, and open. That's when you talk clicks, that's what they're talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 click is when it's really, really stinking cold. Well, if it's really cold, it's closed. You like 30s, 40-degree weather. 1 click is 40s, low 50s. 2 clicks, like right there, that's for you up into your 60s for initial starting. This here is more in the mid to high 60s and 70s, and pretty much anything more than 1 click you don't need unless you're really hot. So that's how that works. Okay, next thing you gotta do is adjust your carburetor. So these are your low speed, which is your idle mixture. This is main jet. So this should be around 3.5 out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, pretty far out. No way you got so far. Now you have to use this at full choke because this lever enrichment, when I use a choke it makes it richer. Can't really see it again. So see how the choke pulls the needle up out of the carburetor? So as you do that, it enriches it and chokes it. It does both. So when you're all the way up, right there, at that position. So now you just adjust this for, usually it's about 3 turns. 3.5 turns, 3 3/4 works pretty good. So it's half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. I usually like 3 3/4. Somewhere in that area it's usually within a half a turn, but depends on the bike. Now the main jet depends if you plug up the hole in the side down here. I don't know if it Dad did or not. So you got to set at 1, 1.5, 2. This is not set. Okay, so you go until it goes off. It's off right there. Here's half, 1. Usually I go 1.5. Sometimes 1 3/4, but usually about 1.5. If you don't have the air cleaner on, you first start it, 1 3/4. If you got the air cleaner on, 1.5. That's a good starting point. Now the way you set that is you go wide open throttle down the road in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th gear, and you screw this thing in until it dies. About right there, it starts running. And you start unscrewing it, and starts, motor starts to run, and it starts running, pulling hard, and then no different. So you go back to where it just started running best, and you can come back and fine tune it again, right where that spot where it runs just the best. That's perfect. You can go 1 or 2 extra. You're done. Now, if you're not riding the bike, you can just whip the throttle on and off. You keep closing up till it won't take the throttle. And you open up till it just takes the throttle in neutral by just whacking the throttle wide open, and that's a starting point. You give it a couple extra wherever that is. The idle mixture, you adjust it for highest idle speed. You got the idle speed screws back here, so you adjust the idle speed. If it gets up high, you adjust it back down. Go back and adjust this again. You screw it until it dies. You unscrew it until maximum idle speed. Maximum idle speed is the correct mixture, and then you turn the idle speed down to whatever you want it to be. And with a mechanical event or with a centrifugal advanced distributor, they don't always want to idle down. Now I bumped these springs up pretty good, so it should return to idle pretty good. So, all right, so there's your 1-2s on how to do that. So now we got to get the push rods in here and get the oiler up in here, and we got to figure out the gas line, how that's all going to fit in there. Probably should do that. I'll do that after I get the push rods in it. Everything's in the way of everything else, so you can see how it all mixes together internally in here. It all has to clear. I gotta make sure that's tight up there too. That's the cable clamp. If that's not tight, it will loosen up on us, and that could be a bad thing. Yep. And give it about a 1/4 turn more. All right. So that's on there pretty good. And make sure the idle speed is still returning correctly. Gotta make sure it still works correctly. It is. Okay. Let me get this stuff all cleaned up and I'll be back and do the push rods.